I'm going to tell you something right now that sounds like diplomacy. But as of this morning, January 27th, 2026, it is actually a quiet war. Remember when NATO was supposed to be unbreakable? When Article 5 meant something sacred? Well, that era is officially over. The West just divorced America, and we didn't even see it coming. You think you understand how international alliances work? Trust me, what happened today rewrites the rulebook completely. This deal that just dropped isn't just another trade agreement sitting on a desk somewhere. This is the exact moment when 1.4 billion people and 450 million Europeans decided they don't need the United States anymore. And it all started with one man saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. The insult that broke an alliance. Last Thursday on Fox Business, President Trump said something that should have stayed in his head. He was justifying his isolationist stance, explaining why he's threatening to leave NATO. And he said this. He claimed that America's closest allies, the UK, Canada, Germany, Poland, they stayed a little back, a little off the front lines in Afghanistan. They let American troops do the fighting while they hung back. Audience. Wait, did he actually say that? Yes, he actually said that. Now, if you don't know why this matters, let me show you the data. Because the data is what caused the absolute implosion. The United Kingdom lost 457 service personnel in Afghanistan. Pause that. 457 soldiers, not contractors, not advisors, dead. Canada lost 158, Germany lost 59, Denmark lost 7, which per capita is some of the heaviest casualties in the entire coalition. These weren't rearguard troops, these were frontline soldiers in Helmand Province, in Kandahar, dying in the exact same dust as American Marines. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer didn't mince words. He went public immediately and called those comments frankly appalling and insulting. Audience. Oh wow, not just wrong, insulting, to the memory of dead soldiers. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius broke diplomatic protocol entirely, something you rarely see from German government officials. He went on German public broadcaster ARD and demanded an apology. He said, and I'm quoting him directly, "It is just not right and it is disrespectful to talk about the death of your allies in that way. To claim something else today is simply not true. Let me tell you something. When a German defense minister goes on national television to rebuke an American president, the diplomatic relationship isn't damaged. It's over. It's not even close to over. It's finished. This isn't about feelings. It's about trust. Here's what people don't understand about NATO. It doesn't exist because of documents. It exists because of trust. Article 5, the sacred attack on one is attack on all, only works if every member believes the others will actually fight for them. If you believe your ally respects the sacrifice you make, you'll stand with them. But if your ally, especially the leader, especially America, stands up and says, "No, you didn't really fight, you stayed back," that trust evaporates instantly. Audience. So, what's the consequence? The consequence is massive. Europe looked at each other in that moment and realized something terrifying. The US president doesn't value their blood. If he doesn't value their sacrifice in a war that's already over, how is he going to value defending them if Russia moves? If China acts in Taiwan? The answer became obvious. He won't. So they made a decision. Pause. They decided they needed a new plan. The slow-moving trade negotiations with India that had been dragging on for 20 years, they just became urgent. The European Union turned those negotiations into a sprint because Europe realized something critical. The Trump storm isn't weather you wait out. It's climate change. It's permanent. You have to adapt. You have to build new systems. You can't rely on Washington anymore. The deal that changed everything. So today, January 27, 2026, while the White House was arguing about tariffs, Brussels and New Delhi finalized what Ursula von der Leyen called the mother of all deals. And the numbers? They back that up completely. This isn't a minor trade adjustment. This is the total economic integration of the Eurasian Rim, and it deliberately excludes the United States. Audience. Deliberately? Yes, deliberately. Every detail of this agreement was designed to create an alternative economic system that doesn't need America. Here's the breakdown of what actually happened today. The Free Trade Zone. The agreement creates a tariff-free zone covering over 2 billion people. 2 billion. That's bigger than the entire Western economic sphere. And it eliminates tariffs on 96% of EU goods entering India. 96%. Do you understand what that means? Pause. India is one of the most protectionist economies in the entire world. They don't open doors lightly. But for Europe, they didn't just open the doors, they kicked them down. This is a seismic shift. Cars, the gold rush. For decades, if you wanted to sell a German BMW or an Italian Lamborghini in India, you faced a tariff of 110%. 110%. That's not a tax, that's a wall. It made European cars impossible to sell at any scale. Under today's deal, that tariff drops to 10%. Audience, wow. Volkswagen, Mercedes, Audi, BMW, all these companies that are currently being strangled by Trump's 25% tariffs in the US market, they just got handed the keys to a market of 1.45 billion people. This is a gold rush. The German auto industry is moving east. That's not metaphorical. That's literal. Factories will move, investment will flow, jobs will follow. Wine and spirits. Prohibition ends. Indian tariffs on wine were 150%. Slashed. Machinery tariffs at 44%. Gone. Chemical tariffs at 22%. Gone. Pharmaceuticals? Eliminated. In return, India gets tariff-free access to the entire EU market for 99% of its exports. Textiles, leather, jewelry, industries that employ millions of Indians now have a direct tax-free pipeline into Paris, Berlin, Rome, London. The timing. This is the knife. And here's the thing that makes this brilliant and brutal. The timing. Just as Indian exporters were facing Trump's new reciprocal tariffs of 25% to 40%, the European door swings wide open. Just as European manufacturers face a 15% wall in the US market, the Indian door swings wide open. This isn't coincidence, this is a chess move. The two largest democracies in the world by population are hedging against the instability of the third. What they're not saying out loud. Ursula von der Leyen said something in New Delhi today that's going to echo for years. She said, "We have sent a signal to the world that rules-based cooperation still delivers great outcomes." Pause. That signal was directed at one man, Donald Trump. The message was crystal clear. We do not need you to prosper. We don't need your markets. We don't need your protection. We can do this without you. And now we get to the title of this video, the ban. Now, legally speaking, you can't just kick the United States out of NATO. You can't easily remove America from the WTO. There's no mechanism for that. But here's what you can do in geopolitics. You can change the locks. Audience? Change the locks? Exactly. A soft ban works like this. Your allies stop sharing intelligence because they don't trust your president anymore. Trade routes get redrawn to bypass your ports. Shipping containers full of goods start moving through different corridors, avoiding American ports entirely. The G7 summit happens, and the real decisions get made in the hallway before the American president even arrives. The United States becomes the person sitting at the table while everyone else is making deals in the back room, and we're seeing this in real time right now. The American response: isolation. While Europe integrates with India, the US is doing something bizarre. President Trump just launched what he calls the Board of Peace, an alternative international forum that includes Vladimir Putin but excludes traditional Western allies. He's withdrawn America from 66 international organizations in the last year, all citing globalist agendas. Audience: 66 organizations? 66. That's not foreign policy. That's self-isolation. That's building walls and then complaining when nobody knocks on your door. The world is moving on without us. Look at the strategic autonomy push in Europe. Something that used to be a buzzword is now a survival strategy. For years, strategic autonomy meant Europe should theoretically be able to defend itself without America. It was a nice idea. Today, it's operational reality. The EU-India deal has massive chapters on defense and security. they're discussing maritime security in the Indo-Pacific, cybersecurity, things they used to bring to Washington for discussion. Now they're handling it themselves. India is doing the same pivot. India was locked into the Quad, US, India, Japan, Australia, designed specifically to counter China. But with America becoming unpredictable, imposing tariffs on Indian goods, threatening to change visa policies, India decided the American marriage was unstable. A partnership with Europe felt safer. What this means for your wallet. Okay, so what does this mean for you? If you're an American viewer or if you care about the global economy, this matters. A lot. President Trump believes tariffs will force companies to return to the United States. He calls it the Great Rebuilding. He did get a $550 billion investment pledge from Japan in 2025. Audience, that's huge. Except economists have been warning that these pledges are often paper tigers, promises that evaporate when market conditions change. The real situation on the ground right now is inflation. When you slap a 25% tariff on global imports, prices go up. Consumers feel it immediately, but the bigger danger, the thing that keeps economists up at night, is market access. American farmers, soybean growers in Iowa, corn growers in Nebraska, they depended on export markets. That was their business model. When Europe and India sign a deal that eliminates tariffs between them, what happens to the American farmer? Audience, they get left out? Exactly. A French farmer can now sell wheat to India completely tax-free. An American farmer selling the same wheat? He has to pay a tariff. Who do you think the Indian buyer chooses? Pause. You don't have to think hard about that answer. This is called trade diversion, and it's the silent killer of economic superpowers. It doesn't happen in a day. It happens in 1,000 small decisions where buyers choose the tax-free option over the tariffed option. And eventually, you realize that your market share has been cut in half. By 2030, the EU-India trade corridor is projected to double in volume. Meanwhile, US trade with Europe is projected to shrink by 15% because of the ongoing tariff war. Audience, that's a lot. Yeah, that's the math of decline. You don't lose superpower status in a single battle. You lose it because everyone starts doing business without you. The absurd yet dangerous Greenland crisis, and we can't talk about this NATO breakdown without mentioning the Greenland situation, which sounds ridiculous but is actually driving a lot of this fracture. President Trump renewed his interest in purchasing Greenland from Denmark. When Denmark refused, again, tensions spiked. Trump threatened tariffs on Denmark, a NATO ally, a loyal member of the alliance. Audience, he threatened tariffs on his own ally? On his own ally, to force them to sell territory. This isn't about real estate. This is about Arctic resources and shipping lanes. As climate change melts the ice, new routes are opening up. Trump wants control. But by bullying Denmark, he terrified the entire Nordic bloc. Sweden, Finland, Norway, they're looking at the United States now not as a protector but as a predator. This pushed them deeper into European Union defense mechanisms and further away from NATO's US structure. It's another brick in the wall of isolation. The historical moment, I think history is going to look back at January 2026 as the turning point. The moment when the Eurasian rimland, Europe and India, decided to join hands and close the gate on Atlantic power. Donald Trump promised to put America first, and in a way, he's succeeded spectacularly. America is now alone, first in isolation, first in tariffs, but last in the room where the future is being written. The ban isn't official. There's no document expelling the United States from NATO, but when your allies build a new world economy that excludes you, when they sign the biggest deals in history without you, when they demand apologies for your insults to their fallen soldiers, you have to ask yourself, did we leave them or did they leave us? The answer is both, and neither. What happened is worse. They moved on. They built a new system and were not invited. The EU-India deal is signed. The ink is dry. The tariffs are up. The walls are high. Welcome to the new world. It's a furious one, and for the first time in a century, America is flying solo. Last Thursday on Fox Business, President Trump said something that should have stayed in his head. He was justifying his isolationist stance, explaining why he's threatening to leave NATO. And he said this. He claimed that America's closest allies, the UK, Canada, Germany, Poland, they stayed a little back, a little off the front lines in Afghanistan. They let American troops do the fighting while they hung back. Audience, wait, did he actually say that? Yes, he actually said that.